Hi, my name is Ron Reekers. I'm an artist as well as a bonsai enthusiast, and I'd like to share with you how I've combined the two. The idea is to use drawing to help me develop my trees, as well as drawing my trees help me develop my art. And so I'd like to share that with you, and I hope that's helpful to you. So the first thing I want to talk about is the nature of drawing and what that actually is. What it really is a learnable process. The learnable process is that we see something, we visually bring it in to our brain, and then we figure out what is it that we're looking at, and then we output that in a drawing. And so fundamentally what we want to do is we want to learn how to see something. What actually are we seeing before us? Seems funny to say that, but that's actually one thing that's really hard for a lot of students, is to get this concept of what we're looking at, what we see, as well as this idea that once we see something, we process it into our head. What is that, how do we process that? How do we symbolically look at that we're seeing, and then take that in our output is our drawing, and then the skill of actually reproducing what we're seeing or the ideas that we have that was given to us by our visual input. And there's a skillful way of doing that in the form of a drawing. So there are three ways of drawing a bonsai tree. One is symbolically, so you're abstracting from the tree and you're creating symbols that represent the tree itself. The second is an imagined idea of the tree. This is an aesthetic where you're exaggerating different parts of the tree to give it extra motion or whatever you're doing as far as the aesthetic of the tree. And the third is a descriptive way of drawing the tree. That is an exact way of drawing the tree. In other words, what you see is what you're going to draw. So I want to talk about all three of those methods for drawing and how they're approached in bonsai. So I'm going to use this Femina here to represent the three different types of drawings. One is the symbolic, again, and the next is the imagined, and the next is descriptive. So in the symbolic method for drawing a bonsai tree is I've got to abstract from the tree. I've got to break it down to some of its basic elements. So in this tree, I have a pot. So this would represent the pot. And then I have the tree. That would represent the tree. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different pads on that tree. So I'll have a pad here, one pad, and I'll just make a triangle. One pad, 2 pads, and I see that it kind of goes like a general like that. So then, and then a little shorter on this side. So then I have another pad, then I'm making a triangle of, and then this pad I'm making a triangle of, and then I have this pad here, and this pad here. It actually peeks around the other side, comes around, and then this pad here kind of covers the front. I'm kind of drawing it in geometric form, and then this last pad that comes out here like that. So this is the way of drawing a bonsai tree in symbolic form. So I have my pads, my trunk, and my pot. An abstract version of that particular tree. So the next is a imagined way of drawing the tree, where I'm looking at aesthetics. Maybe I want to create a logo, maybe I want to create something for some t-shirts or whatever. You want to extract what you're looking at as far as a tree. So I'll do the same. I'll create the pot, and I might add a little bit extra to the pot. When I do this, I might create like a curve in here to kind of exaggerate that. Maybe exaggerate the bottom of the tree out like that, and start creating my branching. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but I'm creating this idealized way of what this tree would be nice to look like. And so there is my imagined idealized tree. So I've created this kind of motion coming in here, little bit of a curvature on it. Maybe this would be nice to print up as a header or something like that. And then there we go. We've got this nice symbolic idea of the same tree. You can see the difference. This is symbolic. I imagined. Here's a symbolic and here's an imagined. This one is just giving me symbols of what it is, but this is giving me more ideas of the aesthetic of the tree. The final way of doing a drawing of the bonsai tree is the unaltered state of the bonsai tree. So this is a descriptive approach to drawing that tree. In that case, I have to be fairly accurate as far as my size. I have to know that the width of the pot in relationship to the height. The height's a little longer. I have to know that the exact tapers. I have to go into, when I create the drawing in here, I've got to create the pot as a three-dimensional object. So it's going to have perspective to it. I have to, the lip of the pot on top. It's a much more what the actual tree looks like. For purposes of this description, I'm not going to go into great detail, but these pads are irregular. They're coming around. I have to be fairly accurate. There's a gin in here, accurate in here, come around. When I am doing this, I should be getting the exact location of where these branches are coming out, and get this view of the tree. That's a much more unaltered descriptive idea of the tree, which would include shading and texturing of this with the moss and how the nabari comes out in here. The exact proportion of the pot to the tree. And that's a descriptive way of doing drawing a bonsai, and I'm going to be focusing on that area. It is probably the most difficult way of drawing, so let's just work with the hardest, because if I work with the hardest and you get an understanding of that, you really get that into your psyche in regards to how that can help you in your bonsai or any drawing that you do, then the other ones are much easier to do. So what are the pros and cons of doing these three types of drawings? Every drawing actually has a little bit of all of them. So it's very good to understand what those pros and cons. So when it comes to a symbolic approach, where you're abstracting, abstraction, abstracting from your tree. The pros is it's fairly easy to do the drawing. The drawing comes up pretty quick. You just create these symbols, and it's very easy to draw that out. So the good thing about that it's fast. So you can draw that out real quick, give you a quick idea of what you want to do, and then you can work on your tree. Obviously a tree is in a three-dimensional sense, so we're working in a two-dimensional sense, so there's some limitations there. That would happen with all these drawings. And I want to talk about space at one time, but right now just understand that it's easy and fast, and it's schematic. In other words, it gives you a real good road map on what you need to do to your tree if you draw that out. I suggest that even if you're not big on drawing, having a sketchbook, making comments, doing quick sketches, symbolic would be a really good way of approaching drawing. And the subsequent videos are actually going to help you do this schematics. Like I said, we're going to focus on descriptive, but it will help you. Now the cons on that is proportionality. When you do an abstraction or a symbolic drawing for your tree, you better be proportionally correct. In other words, the width of your pot better be accurate to the height of your tree. And where your symbols are for your pads, those need to be exactly where they are on the tree, as well as any proportionality as far as the thickness of those pads. The reason being is that if you're going to use this to help you develop your tree, and you go to draw, say, okay, I need to bring this branch down, so you create the symbol of it coming down. Well, if it's not at that right spot there, you'll never get that to look like this, or even close to looking like that. And I've seen that many, many, many times when people have been doing drawings to help them do their tree. And you see the drawing and you look at it right away and you know your tree will never look like that because your branch is proportionally off to the drawing that you created. And so this is one of my motivations to really help people learn how to get that drawing proper, so that when they start altering their tree, they're actually doing it in the right way, so that you get closer to what you actually are looking to get as far as your development. So what happens is that if your proportions are off in your symbolic way of drawing, then you have a complete misunderstanding of your tree. You're not looking at your tree. You're not looking at it properly. You're not really seeing the tree. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to experience these trees. Some of these trees are so fantastic. You get a chance to go to Japan and see some of these trees. It blows your mind, and you want that experience of seeing that tree and seeing these things and enhancing your experience with those trees. And that's also in the States here, all over the world really. At the States, there's some great artists here that are developing world-class trees and just experiencing that. And I myself want to start traveling to other gardens to see people's trees. There are many people I have on my checklist that I want to go visit and see those trees, because I see them on YouTube and they're fantastic. But if you misunderstand your tree, then you're never going to be able to develop what you want as far as developing that tree using this symbolic way of creating the drawing. And so what happens is this kind of drawing can be very deceiving. It can deceive you in regards to your roadmap of how you want to develop that tree. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that even if we're doing these symbols where it's just a straight line for a trunk, or it's just this box, that the width of this box is accurate to the height of that tree. The thickness of this box is accurate to the thickness of that tree. The pads, the angle that you're creating when you're doing that drawing is correct in regards to what your tree is, so that when you create these symbols, they come out to that edge. This is very important when it comes to doing an abstracted symbolic drawing of your tree. So the second way of doing a drawing of a bonsai tree is through the imagined way of drawing it. This is sort of your idealized way of drawing the tree, and so it's, you're creating these curvatures and whatnot. So the pros on that is, again, it's an easy way of drawing a bonsai tree. You're not really worried about accuracy, so you're really kind of creating some flow with your tree, and so you're creating this aesthetically pleasing tree, this idealized idea of what a bonsai should look like. And so you see this a lot when it comes to symbols and logos and that type of stuff. And also, it's commercially appealing. People love those kind of drawings. I actually have a series of etchings on my website at reekersart.com, and those do really well. People love those trees, and I love doing them. They're etched into copper plates. I print those out. They're all limited edition. As I go through the edition, I create more of them, and it's really fun for me to do. And there's a lot of history when it comes to those etchings. And so there's a real commercial appeal to doing this type of drawing of a bonsai tree. But what are the cons again? Well, I consider it a con, but it could be somebody else could like it, but it's really, you're idealizing what the tree really is, and so you're really not experiencing the nuances of the tree. You're not experiencing those real nuances between the foliage and the bark, or the deadwood, the shari or the jin. You're not really experiencing this interplay between the two, or the growth of the tree, or actually the sparseness of the tree. If it's a bonjin, the real actual motion of that tree and the struggle of that tree has experienced in its life. And so in an idealized, imagined way of drawing a tree, you're not really getting those nuances when it comes to drawing a descriptive tree. So the other is, it's disproportional. So if you're going to draw this way and you're going to have that help you develop your tree, it's never going to do that. It's never going to look like that, because the branches aren't going to be in the right place, the curvature of the tree isn't going to be correct. There's a lot of things that aren't correct. The pot in relationship to the tree, none of that is correct, because when it comes to doing an imagined tree or this kind of thing, there's aesthetic ideas of negative and positive space that you want to create when you're creating a symbol. Basic ideas of graphic art. And so it's simplified. And because of it being simplified, you're really not experiencing that really deep understanding of the textures of the tree when it comes to creating a drawing and looking at the tree and trying to represent that in drawing. So the third and final way of drawing a bonsai tree is through the descriptive way, and in this case it's an undisturbed drawing. In other words, what you see is what you're drawing, and there are a lot of pros to that, but I'm going to highlight these pros. The pros is that you're getting proper proportionality of your tree. In other words, if you're using this to help you develop your tree, the branch is going to be in the right place. The shape of your branches are going to be proper. The pot shape and size in relationship to the tree itself is correct. That's all correct, and it can really help you in understanding on how to develop your tree. The other is, it really helps you experience your tree, because you're looking at the foliage, you're looking at the bark, you're looking at these different textures, you're looking at the nuances of the curvature of the tree, and those things really can help you a lot in regards to experiencing your tree and getting great joy out of your tree. The other is, it's aesthetic. A beautiful, properly done drawing, descriptive drawing, is very beautiful, and it's aesthetically pleasing to people. They appreciate the time that you spend on it. They appreciate the patience that you've put into it to create such a beautiful drawing. And you get the reward from doing that. So there's a lot of aesthetics and reward in drawing a tree in a descriptive fashion. Of course, the cons is that it's not going to be easy. It's not easy. You have to have patience when it comes to it. You have to sit and you have to look at it, and you can't really think of the end product as much as the experience that you're going through when it comes to drawing the tree. Hey, if it takes you a couple days to draw the tree, or even a week to draw the tree, what does it matter? You have your tree there. When you're taking a break, you're drawing that tree. Eventually you'll find out that that drawing will be complete, and then it's something that you really will enjoy doing. And it doesn't have to be a tree, of course, but this is focusing on bonsai and bonsai drawing. And the other is it takes time. Again, it does take time. Don't think about the end, think about the process. If you're doing yoga, it's a certain amount of time that it takes. If you're doing Tai Chi, that meditation takes a certain amount of time. When it comes to drawing, you're essentially doing a visual meditation. And this meditation is this correlation between what you're seeing, meditating, processing that, and then drawing that on your drawing. So I think these are the three ways of drawing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the descriptive way of drawing through these videos, and I really hope you enjoy those. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the three different ways of drawing your bonsai trees. I'm going to be doing subsequent videos. It's going to focus on the descriptive way of drawing your trees. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please comment below. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook under Ron Reekers. If you'd like to support what I'm doing here, I have a Patreon page at Ronald Reekers. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Try to say that 3 times really quick, and you'll be able to be informed when subsequent videos are coming out. So thank you very much. Enjoy your drawing, enjoy your bonsai, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.